So I got a call the other day from a company here in the US who has a sales rep that they hired 7 months ago. And he hasn't hit quota one time. Now, when they went through the hiring process, everything checked out. This guy had sales experience. He had industry experience. He interviewed extremely well, multiple interviews, multiple people. And he passed the personality test with flying colors. Classic type A personality, great fit for a hunter-oriented sales role. So then he gets on the job, the 3-month ramp, he doesn't even come close to quota. After that, still not close to quota. So now they don't know what to do. They can't figure out what they missed. So a friend of a friend, they get in contact with me. And what we do is we run our in-depth Explore Sales Assessment. We get the results back. And so I wanted to share with you what we found out. Now, from the personality portion, yeah, it checked out. The guy is a classic type A personality. High energy, extroverted, direct, aggressive, assertive, charming, friendly, persuasive, outgoing, all of the traits that you would identify with that classic hunter profile. However, a different part of our assessment showed something very, very different. And this is what we call the cognitive portion of it. And we have several dimensions of thought that we measure. And in our third dimension of thought, we saw a glaring gap. And it's unavoidable. So there are 2 areas that this person struggled with that nobody in the hiring process would have ever been able to figure out based on the measurements that they took. And here they are. The first one was a lack of strategic thinking. Now, keep in mind, this is a territory sales rep, so he has to go out and sell inside of a territory. And now that territory requires a strategy. So I contacted the hiring manager and I said, now, did this sales rep from his previous company have provided to him the strategy for how he was going to go out into the marketplace and sell? And they did a little investigation and found out, in fact, he did. So the company had provided him with a strategy. Also, he was going to be in a more mature market. So the businesses in that market already knew the company, already had bought products and services, so they were well known. I said, how about the case with you guys? And he said, not so much. This is a much newer market. The people and the organizations don't know us well there. And it was his responsibility to develop a strategy. And I said, that's one of the big reasons why he failed. The second one, unfortunately, it gets even worse. And that is that he has a lack of problem-solving ability. Doesn't mean that he can't solve problems at all, but when you're talking about the consultative, complex, business-to-business sales process, one of the fundamental issues that a sales rep has to do is take all the pieces and parts that a buyer will provide through the Q&A portion of the sales process, collect them all together into a holistic picture, and then say, aha, I see the problem. And here's our products and services as a solution to the problem. He didn't have that. So what he would do, no fault of his own, is in his previous company, he would go out, he would share products and services. If something fit, it was great. Here's the price. They bought. He was successful. But that's not solution selling. And that's what's required in this particular sales role. And so because of the lack of strategic thinking capacity, and because of the lack of problem-solving capacity, this sales rep failed miserably. Now, I told the hiring manager, look, this is no fault of your own. Everything that you did is very common in a hiring process. If I had that information available to me and I had gone through your hiring process, I would have hired him as well. But when you do an in-depth analysis that we do with the Explore Sales Assessment and you get into the thinking patterns of a sales rep, now all of a sudden the light comes on and you see things that you wouldn't ordinarily see. And so that's why the results came back that clearly said this guy is not a good fit. So now what do? Let's take a look at some recommendations. So my first recommendation would be use the Explore Sales Assessment in the hiring process. Had we been a part of that hiring, then I would have been able to see the big gap that's right here in front of me. And I would have said, you're going to need to steer clear of this sales rep. Because if you hire him, you're really going to struggle. But I wasn't part of that hiring process. So the next recommendation is, okay, he's already here. What do we do? So the first one would be tighten up the sales process. When somebody doesn't have the problem-solving skills, that means that there's probably in the qualifying and the needs analysis step going to be a gap there. So you can tighten that up by providing better questions and better value propositions that the buyer is looking for so that they can make the connection better, and you can help them with that. The second thing would be move him to more of a support role. So because he comes from the industry already, he's got a lot of technical knowledge about the products and services, knows a lot about the industry, so let him team sell with a lead sales rep. That would be a great role. Third, put him in an account management role. Since you don't have to go out and differentiate yourself to get new business, then being able to engage with customers who already know you, already familiar with your products and services, then he can be a retention rep and maintain those accounts. It's a lot easier and a lot less pressure than in a hunter role. The last one is the least favorable. Replace him. And that very well may be the case with this particular candidate, because even if they do all of these things, that will improve the situation, but fundamentally, they're still going to struggle with this sales rep. All right, so the question that you're probably asking yourself is, can this be fixed? Can these cognitive issues, the strategic planning and the problem solving, actually be developed, trained, so that this sales rep can be successful? And the answer is a qualified, yeah. So what I mean by that is it's really difficult and it takes a long time and there are no guarantees. So yeah, there would be some coaching and a lot of role playing and a lot of repetition, because basically you're helping this person to rewire their brain, and that takes a long time. So you have to make that decision based on, are you going to be able to compromise the traction that you get in that particular market or territory while you're trying to get this sales rep developed. So I've given some other recommendations of what you can do and still preserve this sales rep. But at the end of the day, quota's got to be met, revenue's got to be generated, margins have to be maintained, sales have to be made.